let's talk about our friends over at Scientology. Now, we've had a bit of a checkered past with them because we've been a little vocal about the fact that it's a scam. Mm-hmm. And we had their spokesperson in one time. Remember, he wouldn't let anybody talk, so we threw him out.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let us talk. He would let the callers talk. He just kept talking, kept talking. We had Jenna Elfman in the studio, and I think it was Bean, as he normally does, that says when we were off the air, hey, you know, Kevin hates Scientology. And Jenna Elfman started yelling at me. We had that happen. And we get emails all the time from people like threats and stuff. It's kind of scary to talk out about Scientology.
Well, and we've talked to former Scientologists who are scared to come forward, too. It is freaky.
Now, that's what brings us to the next story, which is spectacular, because Psycho Mike, who works on this program, was wearing what T-shirt?
Scientology is gay.
And it had a picture of who on the front?
Tom Cruise.
And then the back says,
very gay.
With a picture of
John Travolta.
There you go.
Not only John Travolta, but John Travolta from Staying Alive with the gay headband.
The headband, yeah.
Sure. Now, we had our movie director friend on a few weeks ago, remember, wearing the same T-shirt, and he told us a story that got widely publicized because he ran into Jenna Elfman and her husband Bodie, and they started screaming just the most bizarre things at him. They were so upset with him that it almost turned into a fist fight.
And that's what makes this story so amazing.
Excellent. So where were you?
I was at Farmer's Market buying produce, as I want to do. No, not the one here, not the newer one next to the Grove, the original one. I guess it's somewhere out like by Silver Lake.
Okay.
I don't know, the direction to it, but I'm out there buying produce and whatnot, and I have my Scientology is gay shirt on. This dude walks up to me, and I don't recognize him, so I don't think he's a celebrity, but he might be in the industry because he was kind of handsome and tall. And he tells me, tell me the extent of your crimes. And
wait a minute. He didn't say hi. He didn't say, I'm offended by your shirt.
No, he approaches me in like a very kind of confrontational way, and he says, tell me the extent of your crimes. Now, if you guys remember back, that's exactly what the director claimed that Jenna Elfman and her husband...
They were yelling at him, what are your crimes?
What are your crimes? What have you done?
Yeah.
You look like a child molester to me. And they started doing that. And then I did a little bit of research, and I went to xenutv.com, which is a guy who's, again, Scientology, XENUTV.com. And he brought a camera to a Scientology. They were having some kind of a street fair, and they started yelling at him the exact same thing. What are your crimes? They've obviously been trained, all of them.
Have a pre-prepared kind of way of engaging people who are against Scientology.
This guy said to the Xenu TV guy, you look like a child molester to me. Do you molest children? Just out of the blue.
And where does that come from? How does that even make any sense, by the way? You can't say anything bad about Scientology because you're a child molester? That's basically what it's...
completely arbitrary. And like Kevin said, the guy didn't come up with, hi, how are you doing? That shirt's a bit crass.
Right.
It was out of the blue.
That shirt offends me.
Arbitrary.
So obviously, Scientologists have been trained that that's the response when they get made fun of.
Yeah, and Mike was never convicted of those charges, by the way. You can call him that all day long, but they never got proof.
Statute of limitations exhausted.
Seriously, though, when they said that to you, not knowing, what did you run through a list of all your crimes in your head to see if that's what they were talking about?
You know what? If we didn't have that director on, I might have. But I dropped the groceries I was holding, and I said, "What? You gotta be kidding me! They really coach you on this stuff?"
What are your
Good for you.
What are your crimes?
And he's like, "Tell me the extent of your crimes. You're a criminal. You know it. Tell me the extent of your crimes. Are you man enough to admit it?" And so I'm calling him douche nozzle, and I'm screaming, I'm screaming at him now. Now I'm causing a scene.
And you're loving it, by the way, because you're prepared for it because of the story that you already knew. You were ready for this guy.
And I'm go F yourself. I'm telling him. I'm screaming at him, and I'm fully causing a scene. And this goes on and he keeps repeating it. And finally, I don't know where, because I'm dim, I admit it.
Right.
I come up with this response, and I said, you want to know my crimes? I said, about 60 years ago, I started a cult, and I take advantage of rich, vulnerable people, and they send me money, and I tell them about aliens. And he's just incensed at me, right? And he has this look on his face like he's going to kill me.
Right.
And finally, he's like, don't worry. I'll take solace now, but you'll pay for your crimes in the afterlife. You will pay. So, your day will come and all this stuff.
Wow.
And I'm telling him, F you. And
oh, my God.
Mike's not really the guy that's going to get into a very calm argument with somebody.
No. I felt kind of bad because you know, now looking back on it, there were children around and stuff, and I'm screaming at this guy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it.
How long was the screaming?
You know, it seemed like a year, but it was probably, no doubt, a nonstop argument for a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Which, by the way, is a long time.
In a public place like that, where there's people all around you.
Did he ever change his tack? Did he ever get away from what are your crimes?
No, it was, what are your crimes? Tell me the extent of your crimes. Are you man enough to admit your crimes? And then finally his capper was, well, don't worry, you'll pay for your crimes. You will. So your day will come eventually, whether it be now or in the afterlife. You will pay. You know.
I want one of those shirts.
I think we all should. I think every K-Rock listener should. Well, except for the K-Rock.
Everyone should wear those shirts.
Here's the weird thing about Scientology. Bean and I both have met people who are in Scientology and are the best people you'll ever meet.
Very nice.
Yeah, positive, upbeat, happy people. Yeah.
Obviously, they're in the lower rungs of Scientology, and there's a lot of self-help that's thrown into Scientology. So you can get a decent amount out of it if you just pay. You could also just buy a self-help book. It'd be the same thing. You don't have to give them $200,000 or whatever it is. But most of the people that are Scientologists that we've ever met are great, great people. But the people at the top are taking money from everyone.
Until they get crazy. By the way, be careful what you say, because I'm getting a note here from producer Lightning that our friend Tom Cruise listening this morning on the phone with us right now.
Every Scientologist is great, is what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say.
Tom, you're on the Kevin and Bean Show. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Tom? Yeah.
Don't be glib.
Tom, are all Scientologists schooled to just attack and ask what the crimes are if anybody says anything about Scientology?
I am outraged. I am outraged that you would do this.
We would do what?
Whatever it is you're doing.
But Tom, the story...
Someone just told me to call.
Oh, you weren't listening?
Right.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to sue.
You're going to sue?
You're going to sue.
For what?
Whatever it is.
I have nothing, Tom. What are you going to sue?
I heard you own... Mike.
Yes,
I heard you own a T-shirt that says Scientology is gay.
I do.
I have never seen a Scientologist on stage in a Speedo, oiled up, with fake bronze coloring on their skin, making muscles.
That's true.
Mr. Cruz,
Now
you got
that's
me there.
gay.
You got me there, Mr.
That's Psycho Mike. That's true.
I've seen your pictures, Mike. I've seen your video.
Yeah.
What are you doing for lunch?